And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ACG, where we're just a couple gamers. It's your boy Smooth, and this is another
It's your
episode.
boy.
Oh, my bad, dog. This is different, ladies and
Hey, hold
gentlemen.
up, man. That's crazy. He just said, forget Doc.
Nah,
You know what
nah,
I'm saying?
nah,
I know
nah,
I look,
nah, nah.
I know I look different, bro. I know I look
That's
different. I know it
hilarious.
may. I know you was like, damn, that don't even look like that. Might not even be Doc, low key though.
Bro,
What's up, everybody? How everybody doing, man? What's going on?
you guys know Doc. I can't. This is not just the Smooth Show, bro. This is the Doc and Smooth Show, and we
Man,
really have elevated the channel, guys. We are now beyond just gaming. We are branching off into regular podcasting, and as a son of a veteran, a grandson of a veteran, and a great grandson of a veteran, I can't say that I've ever served my country. I will never be able to say that. And that's, to me now at my age of 36, looking back, that's a regret that I do have. I do believe that everybody should serve their country, and if you don't serve your country, you should have so much immense amount of respect for those that do, that it should just be hard to look at somebody who has served their country and not feel that tinge of regret pulling at your heartstrings. And that's just my own personal opinion. But tonight's episode, guys, of Like It or Not on the Lion episode is the draft for 2025, and is it for real? And we got a lot of stuff to talk about, ain't that right, Doc?
man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Um, while Smooth does this thing like he usually does in the beginning, and while we get everybody coming on in, Chat Mafia, today's discussion, and I'm saying discussion because I would love for everyone to be a part of this. All right, this is a Lion podcast, and we talk about things that's happening in the world, and we would love to hear what you guys have to say about topics outside of the Godfather community, and hence why we brought up the Lion podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the draft. Okay, we're going to talk about the bill that was signed into effect regarding the draft. And, we're going to dig into some things regarding the draft, and we're going to dig into some of the components on the bill and, get some thoughts from you guys, because this is a big, I don't think it's an issue much say, but it's a big topic to talk about. And parents out there that have children between the ages of 18 and 20, we would love to hear, we're going to dig into some things regarding the draft about this. And we would love to get you guys' feedback, especially with a topic like this and the information that is being told about this topic, which is a good thing. And I'm glad that me and Smooth had come together and put our minds together to put this together. And so hopefully you guys sit back, get you a glass of wine, a cold one, roll you a joint, cigar, and let's dive into the draft. Is it for real?
That was the first thing that crossed my mind. I'm not gonna lie. My very first thought was, "Yo, is this for real?" Because to be honest, man, the dog and pony show that we call our government right now, and the way that it's being ran, and my first thought was, this is something that is a ploy, it's a decoy, it's something that they're going to use to help either the Democrats or the Republicans get a win with the upcoming elections, with this next year. And, there's a lot on the line. There's a lot on the table right now. And my first thought was, this is not for real. This is something that either Trump or Biden was going to get behind, and they were going to be like, if you elect me, then I'll stop the draft. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll win the war. We won't even need the draft. And now, looking at the numbers, I'm not going to lie. I'm very concerned. I'm less concerned for our men and women because, to be honest with you, there's a saying, and the saying was that the First World War was fought with guns and bombs. The Second World War is going to be won by pushing buttons. And the Third World War will be fought with rocks and sticks because the world will have to restart all over again. And so that, for me, I'm like, this is what's happening. We're looking at a third world war right now, and there's a lot to talk about. But before we just go jumping into everything, what is your first thoughts when you heard the draft?
My first thoughts. Number one, history's coming back, and I'll just be honest with you. Some things I used to, I voluntarily joined the military, right? And at the time of when I was around 18, 19, we didn't have to register for draft. It wasn't a need for it. So at the time when I was that young, there were kind of rumors of there may be a draft, and if there is one, we might be affected. It brought a little fear in me, I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard it. But now looking at it, we may need a draft. Unfortunately, I hate to say it that way, but we may need one. Our military personnel has decreased, not increased. I mean, don't let it fool you guys, okay? And right now we're in hot water. To be honest with you, we're not in a safe place, and that's even with outside of the military bill itself. This country's not in a safe place. And if something does go down, I think it'd be beneficial to be prepared versus last minute. That's my thoughts on the draft. Preventative preparedness pretty much will outdo last minute stuff. What happens when stuff goes south last minute? You act on impulse, right? And when we act on impulse, sometimes we don't think or think of the big picture. We don't observe what's around us, right? So what happens if there wasn't a draft and all of a sudden, like you mentioned earlier, World War III starts popping off, and practically half our military is already in the Middle East right now, and some of them is already on ground as well. So what happens if it does pop off? Where's our other military going to come from? We're going to need more bodies, right? So it's better be prepared and have it already down packed where, listen, between the ages of 18 and 26, you have to register for the draft. You don't register, it's going to be a felony. People might not like it, and guess what? It's going to be a lot of people that's not going to like it. But it's something that needs to be done, especially if we want this country back the way that we want it to be. That's just my thoughts.
And I do think you're right. If we want the country back to where it needs to be, right? I do think that we are in some hot water, like you said, and I want to kind of go a little bit deeper on that. Let me just go start off by saying shout out to Chat Mafia. You guys are rocking with us at all hours. You guys are amazing. I know some of you guys are probably laying in bed, can't really get to the keyboard and jump in the live like usual, but we appreciate you guys listening in. But with that said, we're gonna get a lot of Godfather people in here that are gonna be watching this and listening. And if you look at the situation that we're in right now and you look at it from a Godfather perspective, let's just say there was a big war in our server right now, okay? And instead of the families, we have countries. The countries that we have in the server right now would be us, Russia, China, North Korea, Ukraine, and let's just say like the United Nations, right? Which consists of...
Wait. Time out.
All right.
Time out. If you're going to bring Ukraine in, you might as well call it the United States of America / Ukraine, because practically they got all our funding. They're not their own nation.
Right. Okay. But I'm getting to that.
Yeah,
okay?
but at least...
I'm getting to that,
but just attach them to the U.S.
Yeah,
they're not their own entity.
Right.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. And I'm not saying that our allies are soft, but our allies are small in comparison to... Let's okay, remember, we're talking about if we're in the Godfather game, okay? and there's allies. Okay, we are
Right.
like you said, it's us and Ukraine. Okay, but on the other side,
Right.
you've got Russia, North Korea, and China, and then you can add in a couple
Those
other
are top
people.
dog.
Right, right, and them three combined are like Shiva, Raz, and CJ. Okay? Them three
Just
together are
that's
going
all they're
to
doing.
absolutely fucking massacre because you know what they're capable of.
Yes.
And then if they're
Yes.
working
Yes.
together, and you got to imagine if they decided to really work together, oh my
Right.
god, I can't even imagine. And now you also have to think, right, that this is not going
Right.
to be a war like fucking what was that movie Red Dawn or whatever, where it was like Asians dropping out of the sky, right, from airplanes and parachuting down. That's not gonna happen, guys. That's not gonna happen. Okay,
Talking about Pearl
they're gonna
Harbor.
bomb the shit out of us first until there's absolutely nothing left. The same way Russia's been doing to Ukraine for the last 2 years, and then once that
Nah.
happens, they'll come over by sea. That's if it were to happen the way they want it to happen, okay? But all I'm saying is this. I'm going to get to my point. My point is this. We're funding Ukraine. China, Russia, and North Korea, which, by the way, Vladimir Putin's been over in North Korea. They've got posters all over the streets of Vladimir Putin, all over the streets of North Korea. They look at this guy like a war god, right? Like they look at this guy like some fictional character. You know, they had a painting
Hmm.
of Vladimir Putin, and supposedly it was for real. It was like he was actually there, and they painted it. Vladimir Putin at his age, which you can compare to Joe Biden, right? Vladimir Putin at his age is riding a horse, shirtless, like a fucking Kevin Costner movie or something, and that's what he's doing in his age. You look at our president, and he can't focus for longer than 20 seconds. Okay, so like that's the type of shit that North Korea is looking at. North Korea is looking at Vladimir Putin like he's a war god, and they're looking at Joe Biden like he's shitting himself while he's standing at the podium. And that's no disrespect to my own president. I respect my president, but my point is, guys, is that you've got these guys working together, and then you've got us in Ukraine, and what happens when the person that's been funding and helping all these other countries needs funding and help? We don't have anybody to turn to. We're printing out money like we're leaving the faucet on and just leaving it run, but at the same time, we're throwing money at countries, that most people can't point to on a map. I'm all I'm saying, guys, is that if you look at it from a Godfather perspective, how do you think North Korea and China are looking at this situation? It's
So watch
Roz,
this. I'm gonna throw
CJ, and
that.
Shiva. Roz, CJ, and
All
Shiva
right.
are looking at us. You see what I'm
So
saying?
I'm gonna throw an angle.
You see what
Yeah, I
I'm
got
saying?
you.
And you could
I got you.
literally look at it. You could literally compare the situation to
Right.
what's going on. You see what I'm saying? Like we're
So no, go ahead.
well, the reason I say this is because I feel like it's a very common misconception right now that we are in a good position. Just recently, they found
Mm.
a nuclear submarine off the coast of Cuba, which is 200 miles off the coast of Florida. And 200 miles isn't shit for a hypersonic rocket, even if they don't have hypersonic rockets like they claim to on that submarine. Let's just say they had regular rockets. 200 miles is nothing. So they can really land that if they wanted to, with precision pretty much anywhere. But my point is this: number one, why would we allow that? What is our Navy and Coast Guard doing? If they're that close, and it's a submarine, by the way, that we were able to detect, why did we not go, hey, what are you guys doing? Turn it around. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck is that? First of all,
So half of our squad is in the Middle East right now. Okay. One of the mate our number one battle group right now is in the Middle East, right? But before I get there, I want to go back to what you said. about how North Korea got Putin looking like he's a mega star out there, right? Well, you got to go back 2 years ago, okay? And everybody is not looking at the bigger picture, all right? 2 years ago, Russia decided to go after Ukraine, and Ukraine started to cry. And what did Ukraine do? They started crying, and Biden and the United States said, you know what, we're going to help you out, right? And if you look at that timeline, Russia didn't lean back on Ukraine. Russia kept going after Ukraine, right? So looking at it in a mobster way, what was Russia really doing? Russia was only doing that to melt U.S. to defund them in their funds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy, though, because nobody sees that. Everybody's just looking at, oh, my God, they're bombing Ukraine. Oh, my God, they're so poor and all that. First off, number one, you got to look at the bigger picture. You got to understand what's really going on. You got a president in office who literally doesn't know his left to right, number one. Then you have a president in office who stumbles, right? But signs a 10-year peace treaty with Ukraine that automatically gives them access to any funding from the United States. Isn't that crazy? At the end of the day, like you said, we're literally draining our pockets for a country that gives two shits about us. And all in all, it all started because of who? Russia. And now we see Russia, Putin, fuck it. US is my boy, yo, big dog. I got him. You ready? All right, let's go talk to China. And now him talking to China is like, yo, dog, I know they owe you bread, but I just got them to fucking pay Ukraine billions of dollars. So if you want to go ahead and do what you do what you do. Now, the cold part about it is China is the scariest military force out there because they have EMP bombs. So instead of just bombing somebody straight up, they're going to take out our electrical magnetic. They're going to take out EMPs. And when you put an EMP out, bro, everything electrical is done. You have no communications. Once you do that, then you can bring in the bombs and start blasting everybody away. Sorry, but we don't have no funding. Our funding went to Ukraine. I'm just saying.
There was something really
It's crazy.
crazy that happened, right? And this is kind of off topic, but kind of not really. It just goes to show the might that's behind China, and a lot of people will disagree with me, and a lot of people will say that it happened for different reasons, but literally a giant chunk of the percentage of people who were living in California left and moved to Texas because they had these, and I'm not just talking about your average Joes, blue collar people. I'm talking about some of the elite that were living in California moved because of tax reasons, because the streets, they had to walk through garbage. There was homeless people living outside of the gates of mansions, and the police, because of the what was going on with the city and the mayor and shit like that and the governor, they couldn't clean up the streets. The police literally were not allowed to tell these homeless people to move off of the driveways of mansions. So these millionaires got tired of the shit, and they just picked up their entire companies and they moved out of California and moved to Texas. And once some of the bigger companies started moving, the other ones went with them, and then you had a giant chunk of the population leave. And it wasn't until after that happened, when the president of China came to California to visit, they had those streets cleaned up. The one with the worst streets in particular had it cleaned up overnight. I'm talking about you could eat your dinner off of the sidewalk clean. They had pictures from before and after the president came. It was nuts. It looked like somebody photoshopped the picture and just edited everything out of it. It was wild. I was
Hey,
like,
let me
there's
ask you
no
a
way.
question. Let me ask you a question. What do people do before a king comes to their country? Think about what I just told you. What do they do? in the streets. They clean the streets up. They make sure the streets are fucking clean like whistles,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially back in the day, they used to do that. So, and I'm not saying San Francisco's peasants. I'm only giving an analogy. Okay, guys, an example. But the question is, why do you think that the governor of California made sure wherever the king was, it was clean? Why do you think that?
Why do I think wherever the king was gonna be, it was clean?
Right. He came to California,
Oh,
and in California, he went to San Francisco. Right.
for me, I think it. Like, this is again, this is just my personal opinion, but I think it was because
Mm-hmm.
it was a respect thing. It was a power thing. They have China itself owns so much land in the ways of cow farms and just farmland in general. They bought up so much of it. They control so much of our meat market because of that already. We we're pretty much in debt to China, and then we also rely on China to get. I mean, think about if you just go into your house and you start looking at shit and you look see where it's manufactured from. Almost everything's from China. Or another Asian country. We rely on them very heavily. And so when you combine both of those things together and you look at how like I said, I think it was a power thing. That it's like the president. It's like the president of the company never comes to the actual building, but you know he's coming once a year. You bet your ass when you know he's coming that day for the whole week before that. They're cleaning and shining and you know what I'm saying, doing the windows like, and that's basically in my head, from what I know, that's what's going on. They literally were like, the boss is coming, and they had that shit cleaned up so quick. But that's just my opinion. And like I said, a lot of people are gonna disagree with me on that. But in my opinion, that's what it is. At the end of the day, the whole point for me is who do we have in our corner? But I have a question for you, Doc, and also I have a question for the people who are listening right now. Shout out to Elvis, by the way. Elvis said they had bad business dealings with China, and so they needed to make a good impression. But my question for the people listening and also for Doc is this: if they're pulling this new bill, right? If they're pulling this for the draft, and we have an increase in our military budget spending because of it, and the draft actually happens, right? Where something it goes down, right? It goes down, and they're like, okay, we need all the men and women because now I was looking at it and it said that they're going to include women in this draft for the first time. Okay, so this is something that the women's rights and the women wanted equal opportunity in the military, and so now it's going to happen for the first time ever, and I think that's wild. I think that's wild, and so in my head I'm like, if they are doing this on purpose because they know some shit's about to go down, so they did this, they got the money that they needed, and they're prepping for this shit. What you said earlier gives credence to what I'm saying. You said that the military has had a hard time recruiting for a long time now. It's no secret. And it would be crazy if they're including women in the draft now because they know the numbers are so bad. So again, if all of this has been pre-planned, where they know the war is coming, they know they need the men, and they also need the women, then let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. If shit goes down, shit hits the fan, the draft happens, will the government deny that they knew the war was coming? Because think about it. All of the stuff that's been going on, we decided to fund Ukraine. Everybody else, China, North Korea is funding Russia. They're all picking sides. Everybody's picking sides, and all of a sudden they decide to do this draft where now everybody is automatically registered. You do not have a choice, ladies and gentlemen. Once this happens in the next fiscal year for 2025, the National Defense Department doesn't give a shit what you think or what your mother or your father thinks. You're now a man, and you're now a woman, and you have been automatically registered if you are between the ages of 18 and 25 or 26, 18 and 26. So, and if you don't go to the military recruiter that you've been assigned to,
if you don't register for the draft,
right?
If you don't register for the draft when you turn 18, that's considered a felon.
There you go. So,
Yeah.
this is crazy. And but again, to my point and the question to you,
Right?
do you think that they will deny that they knew it was coming?
They will, but here's the thing: everybody knows it's a lie. Okay, let's just keep it 100. Because if you've been following, you know there's precursors to war going on. If there were not precursors to war going on, why is our number one battle fleet in the Middle East as we speak going toe to toe with Hamas and the Houthis? Okay, so if they come back and say, "Oh, we didn't know a war was going to happen," if you guys believe that, I promise you right now, you're still sleeping. You need to wake up. Don't let the government lie to you. They've been lying to us for a long time. So I'm not going to buy it if they say, "Oh, out of left field, there's a war happening." Nah, stupid. It's been going on. You're in the heart of it right now. So no, my answer is no. I'm not going to believe them.
Well, me either. I'm not gonna believe it. I know it's coming. I know they did this for a reason. And so now it's just a matter of time. But let's go ahead and play this video. We're gonna stop at certain points and we're gonna kind of go over what this guy is saying. We'll talk about the information. It's only 13 minutes long. So let's just go ahead and jump into it.
Well, guys and gals, looks like you better lace up your boots and get your war faces on because they are bringing back the draft.
One age-old issue is re-emerging, whether the U.S. should have a military draft.
The military draft coming back, according to one expert.
With Ukraine and Russia, Israel being attacked brutally by Hamas back on October 7th, and of course China.
It's becoming a national security issue, the military not reaching recruitment goals to refill the ranks.
Trump orators are musing about the possibility of mandatory military service should the former president and Republican presidential nominee get elected for another term.
If you have been active on social media or you've been paying attention even a little bit to the news, you probably will have noticed that a lot of talk has been circled around the draft coming back in 2025. And that's mainly because it's a very clickbaity topic, all right? I mean, you obviously clicked on this video, whether you're a loyal subscriber or not. You saw the title, you thought it was going to be interesting enough to click on it and see what it's all about. But I'm here to dispel those rumors for you so that you have the down and dirty truth of what's really going on. House passes bill to automatically register young men for the draft. The House passed a large defense bill Friday evening that included a provision that would automatically enroll young men between the ages of 18 and 26 for the selective service. The House's version of the National Defense Authorization Act, or the NDAA, which would authorize $895 billion in military spending, which is, I think, almost $10 billion more than last year's NDAA, passed by a vote of 217 to 199. It's unlikely to be picked up by the Democratic-controlled Senate because of numerous amendments regarding abortion, diversity efforts, and transgender medical treatments. We talked about that on my last video, where I do believe that they are trying to cut these programs in order to find...
Hold on, I just gotta say for a second, yo, why is that dude so freaking yoked? Yo, that dude's so jacked, it looks like he eats, like, children for breakfast, bro. Like, no cap. Like, that dude intakes 200,000 grams of protein a day, dog. Like, look at this dude.
Money to be able to pay the junior enlisted troops more. The selective service provision, though, is part of an enduring bipartisan effort to keep the framework for military conscription in place, even though the draft ended in 1975. Automatic registration would replace the coming-of-age tradition that all 18-year-old male U.S. citizens experience when they get a card in the mail from Uncle Sam informing them that they are required under threat of criminal penalties to register for the selective service. And that's been true for a long time, guys.
Okay, so I just want to get this straight, okay? Because I think this right here is the misconception, okay? It says it's an automatic registration for all peoples 18 through 25, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, it also says that you're gonna get, like I said, something in the mail, right? Where you have to go where you have to go register. But that's what I don't really truly understand. If it's an automatic registration where you're getting something in the mail, that's it. They found you, right?
Yeah.
They're telling you
Yeah.
that you need to go. So then at that point you need to go down to the military recruiter, basically, right? To whatever branch they've assigned you to, right?
Right.
Okay. That's the part where it lost me.
I think it's been roughly 50 years. Don't quote me on that. I want to say it's been around 50 years where that has been the reality, okay? Whether you knew that or not, once you turned 18 and if you were male in the United States, you were supposed to register for the selective service, which is essentially the draft system. And if you didn't do that, there's technically criminal penalties for not doing it. And I think that's where a lot of confusion on this topic is coming from. I think there's a lot of people out there that didn't realize that the selective service system was actually something that already existed, nor do I think that they knew that they were already required to register for it. The House's version of the 2025 National Defense Authorization Act does say that males aged 18 to 26 will be automatically enrolled into selective service. But that was something that you were supposed to be doing anyway. And the House's reasoning for doing this, to make it automatic, is to make it easier on the citizens and also to save money with marketing and sending out reminders to actually register for the selective service system. They anticipate saving a lot of money on that by just making it automatic. So not really a big deal if you really think about it. In fact, it just kind of makes things a little easier. I mean, if you're really mad about being registered for the selective service system, that's something you should have been mad about a long time ago. Now, another big point of contention out there that I know is sparking just tons of controversy, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of you in the comments section that talk about this once I bring it up, is that there was also a proposal by the House in the NDAA executive summary that states that there should be registration for women. So now women are held to the same standard. They also are required to register for the selective service system and would also be enrolled automatically, along with the men, ages 18 to 26. And the Republican-controlled House's reasoning on this is to increase that equality, that thing that we've been talking about for the last 10 to 20 years now, and also to potentially double the selective service pool if it ever was needed. Which is pretty significant, right? So now if there ever was a draft, we would have double the numbers to pull from to cover down. By using available federal databases, the Selective Service Agency will be able to register all the individuals required and thus help ensure that any future military draft is fair and equitable. This will allow us to rededicate resources, basically that means money, towards readiness and towards mobilization, rather than towards education and advertising campaigns driven to register people. So again, they're anticipating that they'll save a lot of money if they make this an automatic thing. So now most of these headlines are pretty misleading, okay? We've talked about this before. This is all just the House's version of the 2025 NDAA. Now the Senate also gets a vote in the 2025 NDAA, and their version, their draft version, doesn't include any verbiage like this. The National Defense Authorization Act is a must-pass bill, right? It has to get approved no matter what, every year. But it has to get hashed out appropriately, and everybody has to agree upon the contents before it actually goes up to the White House for signature. And even once it gets that far, if the president doesn't like what they see, they can always kick it back. So what the headlines are being now, they're really exploiting the House's version of the 2025 NDAA. And they're not really talking too much about the Senate's version because they know for a fact that once the Senate sees what the House has put forth for their version of the NDAA, a lot of it's going to get kicked back. Right now, our House is controlled majority by Republicans, and the Senate is opposite. It's controlled majority by Democrats. Obviously, that in itself results in a lot of conflicting views, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because we are a checks and balances system, so that is the nature of it. It's actually supposed to work that way. So even though in the House's version they want to have automatic registration of men and women to the selective service system age 18 to 26, that doesn't mean that that's actually what's going to happen. That's just what's going to be brought forth to the chambers, and then everybody's going to discuss it. And, there's a pretty good chance that it won't happen. All right, they'll probably have to get kicked back and rewrite everything and come to some sort.
All right. So what he just said right there answered a lot of the questions that I just had. However, he's saying right now where we stand, everything, this is the calm before the storm. Okay? So what he's saying is
Right.
that it's not just gonna happen. They got to take it before these people, and they got to talk about it and decide, okay, well, by the time that happens, the question we have to ask ourselves is, do you think things are going to get better between now and then? Fuck
No.
no. Hell no. It's not.
No.
It's going to get worse. So by the time they actually talk about it, because you know how slow this shit moves, things are definitely probably going to be a lot worse. And so they probably will say yes.
Sort of arrangement, some sort of agreement between the House and the Senate before they send it up to the president for final signature. So even though you're seeing all over all these different headlines, all over social media, that they're bringing the draft back, oh my God, unbelievable, we're getting ready for war, all these things, it's not necessarily the case, all right? They're just sort of exploiting the verbiage that has been approved in the House's version of the NDA, but it's nowhere near complete and finalized. There's still a lot more wickets to get through before we see an official 2025 National Defense Authorization Act signed by the president. And even then, guys, if it did get approved as is written by the House, it just means that the selective service registration is now going to be automatic. It's not something that the younger generation is going to have to worry about, or at least nothing new that they have to worry about, right? I mean, this, like I said, this has been going on for the last 50 or so years. But the big change definitely would be that now women are added into that pool and they will be automatically registered as well. Now, that's a pretty big subject, right? I'm curious what you guys think about that. Do you think that that is a move in the positive direction? Do you think we should do that? Do you think women should be part of the draft if there ever was a draft in the future? Or do you think that's the wrong answer and it's the wrong way to go? I'm really curious what you think. Drop that in the comments for us.
Okay, so again, that answered a lot of my questions. I hope that it answered a lot of people here's questions. But my question, I heard, and it's weird. It's very strange, don't you think? Don't you think it's a little strange that I'm not gonna say because I don't really have a dog in the fight until I see somebody who's running for president who I can look at like an actual leader, like a fucking hero of the free world, like someone who's honest and wants the job for all the right reasons, who doesn't want to fight wars that we don't need to be in, who wants to, you know, bring our troops home and clean up and make everything right at home first before we go out and do anything else. Until that day happens, I don't give a damn. So I'm not even gonna do the whole Republican Democrat. I'm not doing any of that. Okay? But what I will say is this. I think it's funny that there's one side of our government that has been fighting for LGBTQ and all these rights, right? But all I heard in that was men and women. What about all of the other letters that are in the rainbow? Right? What about them? Do they have to register? What if they're not? What if they're non-binary? What if they're gender fluid? I can't hear you, bro. You're completely broken up. You're completely broken up. But this question is also for Chat Mafia. What do you guys think? Why is it that we have one side of our government fighting for, you know, people who aren't a certain gender, they're gender fluid or they're non-binary, whatever you want to call it? What about those people? They want to be included in everything else, so why weren't they included? Or am I wrong?
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So to answer your question, no. So if any alphabetical community members between the ages of 18 and 26, they have to sign up as their God-given birth gender. You can't go up and say, no, that's not going to work out.
Are you sure?
So,
are you sure? Because
just pay attention and watch. Just watch. Just pay attention and watch. Because you got to understand to the verbiage, like you mentioned, verbiage is key. Understand that. verbiage is key. They said all men and women between the ages of 18 and 26. Bro, this is a serious thing. They're not bringing in the alphabet community because once you go register, you're going to go register as you are that your mom spit you out of as. And if you try to fight it, I promise you there's going to be some type of quarrel about it. Hence why he mentioned what he said. The House bill may change a little bit different from the Senate bill. And you even said it yourself. The Senate is ran by who? The Democrats, who are backing the alphabet community. So there's where that dilemma is going to be. Me personally being a veteran, you're going to sign up as a man or a woman. Don't bring in that alphabet community because at the end of the day, you're a man or you're a woman and you're about to go fight. And people are going to be mad about that. That may cause a civil war.
Well,
between go ahead.
Between who?
Between the alphabet community and the non-alphabet community. Right? And I'm not speaking negative toward the alphabet community. That's their thoughts. That's how they want to live. Hey, I respect how that's on them. But since we're digging into this, it's gonna hit a threshold where we're gonna see it spill out in the streets somehow. Facts. How we're gonna see it, I don't know. But like I said, the verbiage is real clear. Men or women. You can't put on there you're non-binary. That's not how it works. I'm speaking from military past experience.
I'm just gonna Google this to see what it says. Are non-binary people excluded from the military draft? Trans men and women and AFAB non-binary people cannot register for the draft. What?
Okay, so that makes sense. Hold on. I'm going to explain this one. Watch this. So trans men and trans women, that makes sense because they've already had their operation. I promise you, if it's pre-op, they're going to make them go as what they are. If it's post-op, and when I say what they are, what they came out of their mother. Post-op, you can't take them out. And I'm not speaking negative, but you're not going to take them out there like that. Facts. So there's that. But everybody else, you're going to have to sign up, pimp. For real.
It says that they cannot register for the draft.
Nah. So now watch this. If people are paying attention, and I hate to say it this way, but watch how fast these trans operations go into play in these hospitals.
Oh, bro, no. This is a gray area. This is a gray. If what Google's saying right here that I'm reading is true, there's a gray area. Is there a ban on non-binary service members? There is no explicit ban. See? that right there. That right there is your first gray area.
Yeah.
Flag, okay. On non-binary service members, but there is also no official recognition of their existence. What?
Or guidance about how they should adhere to gendered policies. Let's say that. Read that again.
Yeah, that's a gray
read that
area.
Again for those.
That's a gray area.
Read that again.
So basically, they're not. There's not a ban, but they will not. They don't recognize their existence, and or guidance about how they should adhere to gendered policies. So that to me sounds like that's a gray area. If somebody says, or should I say, if somebody was, let's just say David, and he was born a male, and then he changes to a female, well, this is where it gets tricky, right? Because they're not saying that he's banned from becoming a service member, but they're not saying that they even recognize his existence of whatever I think he's changing his identity to. So now that they're changing the law where women are now in there, this is where the non-binary thing comes in. So now even if the male changed to a female and then later said, you know what, I don't want to be either, I'm non-binary, then if they were coming to get that person, the male or female, for the draft, he could say, oh, nope, I'm non-binary, and then it's basically, I think, up to them whether or not they want to go.
See, that's gonna be a problem
That's what I'm saying.
because if you're going to allow a certain gender that's not even recognized and don't even have a policy based on their gender, that's crazy. So there's a policy for male genders and there's a policy for female genders, but there's no policy for all other genders. That's mind-boggling. So think about it like this: you're a standard person, okay? And there's no disrespect toward anyone on this. I'm just giving my point of view. But you have a standard person and you have a trans person or a non-binary person. Both are equally the same, meaning human beings. The only difference is one thinks that they're not what they are or feel how they feel. I can't go into that discussion because I'm not thinking like that person, right? And then the other one is set on their God given, you know what I'm saying? Right? So now they go up to the place, this person says this, and this person has to sign up. How is that going to look to the person that signed up to the person that's non-binary? Like, that's not fair, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to cause a ruckus. That's going to cause a rift. If everybody in the alphabetical community wants to have the same rights as we have rights, then why can't they go to the same place that we have to go if the shit hits the fan?
Well,
that's where my argument's going to lie.
Yeah, that's and you can see that there's a lot of gray areas there. They keep saying they're passing all these new bills to make it more inclusive for this person and that person, and I can see that, and I've even been told by my friends who are in the military, it's not the same as it was. They changed everything, and it's now more inclusive, and there's they actually do the what do you call it when you have to
boot camp?
No, like when you have to pronounce somebody like by their gender or whatever. What do they call that? Damn it, I just blanked.
I don't know, gender recognition.
Yeah, basically, they all of that, and so that's why I'm like, I see the gray areas here. They're trying to figure out how they're gonna do it. I can foresee them doing, making it so that it eventually it's all inclusive of all whatever you want to identify.
I just think personally, if you're going to do that, you need to make everybody included. I don't care what you are. If you feel you're this type of person, that does not discriminate you from signing up based on your age. That's just me. For real. You shouldn't exclude one gender because they don't have a policy. That doesn't make sense to me. You understand? And then you're going to include ones that have a policy. That's going to cause ruckus off from the jump. Because if you think about it, and not everybody, because I got friends in the alphabet community, not everybody, but some of them pressure those that aren't in the alphabetical community, which they get away with. So now you putting this draft out, and now you're excluding the same people that are throwing shit into our faces every day. How is that going to look? That's not going to look good at all. At all.
This is kind of off topic. Kind of, but not really. My personal opinion is this, and it doesn't go exactly hand in hand, but you'll understand what I'm saying here in a second. At the age of 18, you can't buy alcohol, and I'm not saying that that's an important fact. I'm just saying that it says something about how immature and how undeveloped and young you are when they're saying you're not allowed to drink alcohol. And it's not because if you drink alcohol you're gonna die, and it's not because it's because when you're older you know what your limit is, you know how to handle it, you know how to carry yourself without being an immature fool, and drinking can end lives if not done responsibly. Okay. I would disagree strongly if I were to say that I thought alcohol was more dangerous than giving somebody a gun that's not responsible and doesn't know how to use it. Or better yet, putting an 18-year-old in a military tank or behind the controls of a helicopter, Black Hawk, or giving him a parachute and pushing him out the all I'm saying is this. I highly disagree that you are restricted at the age of 18 of doing so many things, but yet you're not restricted from being thrown into a war that you have no business being in, fighting for somebody that you don't even know, and risking your life. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. What I'm saying is I highly disagree that you should go at the age of 18 to fight a war, not to go to boot camp, not to get a proper military education, not to have all those real world experiences. I think to fight a war at the age of 18 is blasphemy, in my opinion. I agree that you should have the education and the training and the skills and the mindset and everything that comes with the military on that side of things. I think that's great at the age of 18. But to send them off to war, I don't think that's and I feel the same way about sports. Not that it's the same thing at all, but I do think that going off to college and having your college career is very important for the development of a person. Dude, do you know how dumb I was at 18? Do you know how stupid I was at 18? How dumb most people are at 18 when you fast forward and go just 5 to 10 years. So much happens, bro. You develop so much between those years that to just go off and fight a war, bro.
I personally think this, to be honest with you. I think that draft needs to be for lifers, convicts, and those that are spending 25 to life in jail. I think the draft needs to be compromised of those individuals from the ages of 18 to 26. Facts.
But why did they stop doing that? Because I remember there was a time.
I don't know if they did.
Yeah.
I don't remember if they did.
Yeah. I remember someone telling me, because I remember saying to a friend that was actually who had got sentenced to he was really young. I think he was like 20, and he was getting ready to do like a year and a half in prison. He did something really stupid. And I said, was there no option? Like, you couldn't get like probation or just go to military? And he was like, that wasn't an option. And then I asked somebody, I remember asking somebody, I was like, you can't just, I said, going to the military is not an option anymore? And they're like, no, they stopped that a long time ago. But I do remember that being a thing where you could just, that would, like, the judge, like, you could ask your lawyer to ask the judge, like, look, I still have my whole life ahead of me. You know, I could go to the military.
That's what happened to me. That's what happened to me. Yeah. But the draft is a little different, though. This is different. The draft is way different. I think with this draft, I think what they need to do, since they already have everybody that's in prison is already in a database. Understand that. So it's not going to be hard. You analyze who you have, and then you put every individual from 18 to 26 automatically in the draft. When their name is picked, you send their asses straight to that department where they go. They come back alive. You grant them that what's it called? Or however they want to choose it. But I think they should go that route in a sense versus just taking our kids right out the streets. Because I feel some type of way of age 18 to 26. I really do. That's like our future. That's our future. Think about what I just said. That's our future.
Between those
so they're
years,
literally,
dog, you should just be in school, bro. School and figuring out life.
And this is why I'm saying this. Between the ages of 18 and 26, that is the future. That's when you start really learning and digging into the trades or realizing what you want to do in life. You know what I'm saying? I'm not all for the draft all the time. No, it needs to be one, but I think there needs to be some changes to that. Men and women, yes, but I don't think it should be us that are in the streets. I think it should be those that are incarcerated. And the downfall of that is they're not going to do it that way because the man that's making the money behind prison is going to lose money. Think about what I just said. So it's a never ending story if you think about it. And that's another topic we can go into about prison bars and financially how they're privately owned. In a sense,
Yeah, that's
and
that's a huge thing. That's something that I've thought about for a very long time.
And I think that's one of the reasons why they don't utilize prisoners for war. Because just think about this: you own a prison, okay, and you own a 1,200 house prison, and each prisoner is about 50 racks. 50,000 times 1,200 is what a privately owned prison owner will make. You take away, let's say you take away 300 of them. You know how much money they're going to lose? Now you see why they don't want to do it that way?
Bob Barker.
I'm just saying, the price is right, bro.
Isn't that nuts? Well, listen, guys.
But that's the reason why they want to do that. Especially if they want to do it with the draft.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate everybody for watching, guys. I really thought it was a great episode. We kind of covered a lot of stuff here. We're going to try and figure out what the next topic is going to be. We could do private prisons. There's a lot of different things that we've been dying to do, to be honest. But we are going to be giving you guys more of this.
Shoot us your feedback.
Yeah.
Shoot us your ideas.
Yeah. In the comments, guys, don't forget, drop us your opinion on the topic, what you guys want to hear us talk about, what your guys' thoughts are, and we really appreciate you guys very much. Love. Doc, anything you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Much love, man. And like Smooth said earlier, anything you guys want to talk about, anything, and you want us to put on air and you want to talk about it, man, let us know. This is what the L.I.O.N podcast is for. It's about what's going on in the world today. Appreciate each and every one of you guys that came on. Love the feedback, love the conversations. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification button. And until next time.
Peace.
Deuces. Peace.
Yes, sir. Gotta give it a few minutes, because it's gotta catch up or whatever before I can hit that end button. But dude, private prisons would be a good episode to cover for sure.
But though that can pretty much piggyback what we just talked about, because that's like a dilemma right now, where private prisons are pretty much the mainstay on why we don't have those folks fucking going into war versus our own regular people. So.
Mambo's in here. Mambo.
What up? So.
That's hilarious. Why are you up right now, Mambo? It's 1 a.m. Are you watching Christmas movies?
He's watching